guys, I just wanted to hop on here really quick, and about to show you how I made this cute little camping card using the stamp set is from Sunny Studios. But I wanted to jump on here first and let you know what's been going on, why I haven't been posting my weekly videos. I haven't posted a video in 2 weeks, actually. It's because I've been remodeling my craft room, which isn't quite done yet. It's almost done. You can see all my little post-it notes here on my bins tell me what's inside of them. But so it's just a couple little finishing touches I have to do in here, and then I'm going to shoot a craft room tour video, which I've never done before, but I'm really excited to do because I love watching those videos. And right now I haven't posted, or I haven't even filmed that yet, because I'm going through all the stuff that came out of this room. My house is still completely destroyed. My dining room and living room is still full of stuff, and I still have a little bit even in my son's room. So I've been trying to go through that as much as I can while keeping up with my design team projects for Simon Says Stamps Wednesday challenge. But I'm trying to go through everything. I'm separating things I need to keep and store, things I want to take pictures of and sell, and then things that I'm going to donate to Goodwill. So I've been going through a lot of stuff, a lot of boxes, a lot of stuff I haven't seen in a long time, because I don't want anything else in this room. I feel like I have this room the way I want it, and I don't want anything else in here. I don't know if I'm going to share this with you when I do the room tour, but I took pictures and did a video of this room before, and it was really bad. There was so much stuff in here. Not all crafting stuff too. It was just, this was an office before, so I had a bunch of office stuff in here, and anyway, there's a lot of stuff. Enough to fill 3 rooms. I had my son's room completely filled. I'll have pictures of that on my Instagram account, but just a lot of stuff. So it's just going through things, and I don't want to do the room tour until I have everything. I want to take pictures of things that I'm going to sell, and just have everything ready, so when I post a video I can post those items as well. So as soon as I have everything, I take pictures of everything, then I will record the room tour video. So hopefully that's coming soon. But I just wanted to let you know why I haven't been posting my weekly videos. I want to, I just don't have time right now. So working on the room tour, and then I'll get back to doing my weekly videos. But anyway, all right, so let me show you how I made this cute little card.
All right, so the challenge this week is called Whatever the Weather, and we are featuring the products from Sunny Studios. I'm starting off with a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock, and I'm going to mask off the bottom portion to start out with. Now, I cut this to the size I made this is 4 inches by 9 inches, but I'm going to go ahead and cut off probably about an inch off of that once I figure out where I want everything. So I'm masking off the bottom portion so that I can work on the sky, and the colors I used for the sky are Tumbled Glass, Blueprint Sketch, Faded Jeans, Chipped Sapphire, and some black soot. Now, this was too many colors. I could have easily have dropped the Faded Jeans, I think, because I really like the Blueprint Sketch. It was kind of a lighter blue, but the Faded Jeans and the Chipped Sapphire were very close, but I liked the darker color, the Chipped Sapphire, so I could have totally done without the Faded Jeans on this one. But for the skies, I did Distress Oxide inks, and then for the grassy area, I'm just going to use regular Distress inks. If I was doing the full width of this card, I think using all these colors would have been fine, but because I was only using 2.5 inches, it just wasn't enough space to use this many colors, so it'd be really pretty if I was doing the full width of the card. I love this part. I love revealing that nice crisp white line. All right, and here's what you don't want to do. So I just got done ink blending this, and I should not have put the masking paper right over the top of it because it's still wet. And as soon as I put it down, it kind of dawned on me that I probably shouldn't have stuck that on there right away. And then I'm going to end up not doing the grassy part right away, so I'm gonna pull that off here in a second. But I wasn't quite sure as I was getting my mustard seed color here. I wanted the fire to glow in the grass, but I didn't quite know where I wanted the fire to be. I had a rough idea, but I just figured I would color my images first, and then I would know exactly where I wanted that glow to be. So instead of leaving the masking paper on it for that long, I'm going to go ahead and pull it off. And I probably should have pulled this off at an angle. I was not pulling it off that fast. Obviously, I have the video sped up here, but it did pull a little bit of my my ink off of my sky. But I'm going to have a bunch of stars in the sky, so it really wasn't a problem. But yeah, you should probably wait for your panel to dry before you stick masking paper right over the top of it. But it won't be a problem. In the end, you can't even see that. So I'm not going to include all the Copic coloring. If you're not into watching coloring, then you can go ahead and skip ahead. I'll have the time somewhere on the screen here to tell you where to skip ahead to bypass all this. I'm only going to color 2 of the images. I love watching Copic coloring. I've said that before, so I always like to leave a little bit in here, but it does add quite a bit of time to my videos. If anyone would be interested in maybe just a Copic coloring video, let me know, because I might do one of these days a video, like a full-length video with all the Copic coloring, and then a shorter video like this video I'm doing here minus the Copic coloring. That might be kind of fun to do, because I would love to see all these little critters be colored, especially with this kind of fire glow on one side of them, which is something kind of interesting. So yeah, let me know if you'd be interested in that. If not, no worries. Less work for me. I do have something new that I'm going to start doing when I do Copic coloring, or if I use colored pencils or whatever. I'm doing a color breakdown, or like this one is a Copic breakdown. I've noticed a couple card makers doing this, and it's so nice because one of the places I go to look for color combos is Pinterest. And it's really nice to be able to see a card and then right next to it see a breakdown of all the colors that were used on that card. I mean, I list all the colors on my blog anyway, and I store them in Evernote just in case I ever wanted to make a card again that I've made before. I have it all in Evernote, what colors I use. So I'm basically doing it anyway. I'm just making a nicer or an easier to find, hopefully, format. So I've added it to one of my public Pinterest boards, but now I got to figure out how to make it so people can find it and pin it. That's the part I don't know how to do. Nobody where I live blogs or does any of this that I know of. So it's kind of hard to figure out how to do these things sometimes. So if anybody knows how to get pins searchable on Pinterest, let me know. Actually, if I would take the time to do the challenge, I might actually be able to answer that. My fellow design team member, Mindy Baxter, does beautiful Copic coloring, and she has her website, and you can find her on Pinterest as well, is My Creative Scoop. But she did this Pinterest challenge where she kind of guides you on how to make your Pinterest more pinnable, I guess, just work in your favor. I just haven't had the time to do it yet, but I need to make the time. As soon as this craft room is done, I'll have a lot more spare time, is what I'm telling myself. But you should definitely check out her Copic coloring. There's a couple people, even Mandy on the design team, does beautiful Copic coloring. I'm just in awe of the ladies on this Simon Says Stamp Wednesday Challenge design team. All of them just do fabulous work. Anyways, so I'm going to finish up my little deer here. And most spots on deers are white, aren't they? Doesn't that mean that they're a doe? No, that means they're a fawn. I think that's what it is, but it's kind of hard to do the white little spots and trying to make them look like they're in the dark. I did my best. All right, I got to tell you guys about this really cool tool that you might not know about. Look at this magnet here on the left, lower left. See that? It picks everything up. I love it. It's one of those tools that are just handy to have on your desk, but it's called the Spellbinder's main attraction is what it's called. But see how it just picked them all up? No problem. I love it. It's one of those must-have items. It really is the small things in life that make me the happiest, I swear. All right, and I'm going to work on my grassy area now that I know exactly where I want that campfire to be. And I'm just going to use some Post-it tape here. I was a little nervous about putting the masking tape back over where it had already pulled some of the ink off. So I'm just going to use the Post-it tape because I know it's not very strong. So I'm using the mustard seed. This is just the regular distress ink. And it's just going to look like there's a nice glow on the ground from the campfire. The colors I'm using are forest moss, peeled paint, and mowed lawn. And then I'm going to do a little bit of the black soot just around the edges. The forest moss and the peeled paint are pretty dark greens, so the mowed lawn is just a brighter green, and it's just to brighten it up a little bit. All right, wait for it. This is my big reveal again. Love this. I'm being smart here. I'm trying to peel it off delicately. Oh, now I pull it off at an angle, but didn't think to do it when it mattered. But look how beautiful that is. It just lined up perfectly. I love it when this happens. And I love that lighter color at the bottom. When I brought it in to show my husband, it almost looked like it was glowing because it was a little bit darker in there. And of course, that bright spot you can see even in a dark room. Looked really cool. So I did it off camera. I did it in my glue box, but I just took the picket fence distress dauber and a toothbrush and made my stars. Now I'm just going in with a white gel pen and I'm going to add some brighter stars and some shooting stars. Now here, the more I looked at this, and I kind of had a feeling I was going to want to do this because it's a darker scene. The white border just wasn't working for me, so I'm going to go ahead and cut off the white border on all of my images. Then I'm going to pop some of the images up with some foam squares, and I totally forgot when I was putting them on most of them. It didn't dawn on me till I was doing the tiny little hot dog on a stick there, but I purchased the Gina K foam squares, and they're black, and they are perfect. I wish I would have thought of that, but they are not as, I guess, thick as these white ones, which aren't thick at all. I use these for a lot of things, but it would have been really nice to have these thinner foam squares and in black. But I just didn't think of it until I was doing my little hot dog on a stick here. And I didn't realize until I had put, I'm going to cut a little piece of it off, but I didn't realize that it wasn't as thick as the other foam squares. So you'll see here I'm going to double it up to match the rest of the foam squares. So yes, I had to cut off a teeny tiny piece, but it was worth it to me because I really wanted that popped up a little bit because my deer was popped up and I wanted my deer to be the one to hold it. So see, the marshmallows on a stick are in the background, so that one I didn't put foam squares on. So yes, it is tedious, but it's so worth it in the end, I think. It's the little attention to details like this on cards that really draw me in. I love little details like this. And I almost forgot about my little snail there. I left him on the paper. I hadn't colored him, and he almost went in the garbage with my scraps. And I went around all of my images with this Memento black marker, which is so nice if you have any imperfections in your fussy cutting. makes it so you can't see them. And here's where I decided to cut off a good inch because it just seemed too long. I had too much space there, and my sentiment was getting kind of lost. I didn't want it centered. I wanted it off to the side here, like you see it. But yeah, it just seemed like it was getting too lost with all that extra space. So I just trimmed it down. And this is a really easy way to add some shooting stars. With the white gel pen, it stays wet for a couple seconds. And I just took my craft pick and then just kind of spread that ink out like like a shooting star looks. And that was it. It was perfect. And one of them, the one kind of in the center there, it dried too quick on me. So I just added a little bit more ink. So I think it looks a little bit brighter or bolder than the other two on there. There's a little tiny one down in the left, but that's why, because I added more ink and then I just used my pick again. I'm using my anti-static powder here, which I always do when I do ink blending, just because the powder has a tendency to stick where you don't want it to. But mainly that's because if you don't wait for the ink to dry, it's going to stick everywhere. So I always A, make sure that the panel is dry, and then B, I always use that anti-static powder. Well, actually, I always use the anti-static powder, but it really does make a big difference. All right, I'm using the Simon Says Stamp embossing ink here, and I'm going to use some super fine white embossing powder. And since I cut off about an inch, this card ended up being, this part was 4 inches by 8 inches, and then I added a black border, so it ended up being a little less than 4 1/4 by 8. 4 1/4 by 8 1/4. I don't have a particular size that I like to use when I do these longer cards. I kind of just go by how much room I need to place all the characters. Like I did a long Halloween card, a while back, and I believe it was 11 inches long. It was pretty long, but it needed to be in order to fit all the characters in there. So like this one, I thought 9 inches was going to be the size I needed, and since it wasn't, I just trimmed a little bit off. So I don't have a designated size that I use when I make these long cards. I just basically make them as long as I need them to be. I'm using VersaFine ink here to stamp out the trees. And at first I started out using just an acrylic block because I thought the VersaFine ink would be, bold enough and dark enough where I didn't need to stamp it more than once. But after I stamp out a couple trees here, I noticed that I needed to stamp it more than once. And I'm using the Bristol Smooth paper, which acts a little different sometimes when you stamp on it. So what I ended up doing for these 3 trees is off camera, I just lined them up again with my Misty, and then I stamped them a couple more times. And so then the other 3 trees I'm adding here, I stamped them out 3 times each. And you can still see through it a little bit, but now that everything's dry and I'm looking at it now, you can't really see through these trees as much as I could when I was stamping it. So maybe it just needed to dry, I don't know. I was a little worried about that at first, but it's one of those things you just need to kind of stop and step back and, give it some time. I get too in my head sometimes when I'm doing these, and I was worried I didn't know what to do because I didn't like that you could see through the trees, but like I said, it's not as obvious now than it is on screen here, because right now it looks pretty obvious. I don't really like how you can see the horizon in them, but once they dried, it's not so bad. All right, so I'm just going to start gluing all my little characters down. I did a little light in the tent, just so it wasn't all one solid color. I just wanted it to be a little different, like maybe there's somebody in the tent with a lantern or something. I don't know. Love all these little characters. So for the marshmallows here, I used my Zig 2A glue pen. It was just easier to use because I didn't want any of the glue to kind of splurge out the side. With distress inks, if you don't get it off fast enough, it'll leave a mark in the distress ink because it reacts to water. Well, it reacts to basically liquid. So I just use that for the little marshmallows on a stick there. I end up, you'll see, actually, I don't think you see it on camera, but when I put the Nouveau crystal glaze on the fire, I don't even know how it happened, but it kind of, like it had a bubble on the top or something, and it popped and it left a spot on my grassy area, and it was right under, I think it was like underneath the log there that the deer's sitting on, and I couldn't get to it fast enough with my finger, and it was too big to get with the craft pick, and anyway, it ended up leaving a mark in my distress ink. So luckily it was kind of under that log, so you can't see it. But it reminded me that I should open things off to the side and not right over the top of my project. So just use the Tombow mono glue to glue this in place because I wanted some wiggle room to make sure I was lining it up correctly. Well, maybe I did leave it in here. All right, so I'm going to put the Wink Estella on my flames first, just because I wanted it to kind of sparkle. And then I'm going to put the Nouveau crystal glaze over the top of that. Oh, no, I cut it out because I could already see it at the end of the log there. Right at the very end on the left, you can see a little spot in my grass area. But I just couldn't work quick enough to get it off. And I can't believe I even had to look this up because one of my dads is the fire chief and has been in the fire department as long as I can remember. But I actually had to look up what color, I had to look up flames or fire because I wasn't sure if it was lighter in the center of a fire and darker towards the edges or vice versa. But I looked up some flames and some fires, and it's lighter in the center, and then the orange glow kind of is more towards the outer edge of the fire. In case you were wondering, had to make it realistic, because forest animals sitting around a campfire is very realistic. And this was an afterthought. This was more my husband's idea. I purposely didn't put a moon in my image because I wanted the stars to kind of be what you saw, but my husband made me feel self-conscious about it, and so I added a moon. And if I would have known when I first started making this card that I was going to add a moon, I would have done a lighter glow in the sky where the moon was going to be. But since it was an afterthought, there's no glow. There's just my moon. So I just took a piece of watercolor paper and I'm just going to add a little bit of, I used squeezed lemonade and iced spruce distress inks. And I'm just going to tap that on my circle here, and that's going to be my moon. The moon turned out really cool. And I'm glad I added it. I mean, looking at it now, I'm glad it has a moon, but when I started the card, I just didn't think I wanted to add a moon. That's why I always ask my hubby for his opinion, because he has really good ideas. Like even certain colors. I don't know. He's just good at helping me make decisions. So I zoomed in here because the camera it's too bright in my craft room, so you couldn't really see how it was looking. So I zoomed in until the camera kind of picked it up. But see how cool it looks? It looks like the actual dark parts of the moon. And to finish this off, I'm going to cut that moon down. I'm going to go one size smaller in my circle dies and just make the moon smaller because it seemed a little too big for this spot. So That is it for my card this week. If you are still here, you deserve a medal because this is a very long video. I do appreciate you watching it. I don't know why this ended up being so long this time, but if you liked it, which hopefully you did if you're still here, you know what to do by now. Like, subscribe, bell icon, all that good stuff. And I will see you next week with another card video. And coming very soon will be that craft room tour. I'm really excited to share it with you. So as soon as I can get that done, I will post it. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next week. Bye.